Hi everybody, it's John back here with another model final reveal video. I've managed to get these two Matchbox Alpha Jets finished, and one of them's come out really nice, and the other one I don't really like the way it's come out at all. I wonder if you can guess which one is which. The silver one in the foreground is actually the first release generation boxed Matchbox Alpha Jet PK5. This was the one, if you remember, I explained that it had the incorrect tail fin mouldings on the kit, but it did closely follow what they interpreted would have been the wooden mock-up that would have been presented to the French and German governments when Dassault, Breguet, Dornier were putting the Alpha Jet up, up for tenure for the contract for the trainer for the French Army de l'Air and the German Luftwaffe. And the one in the background is actually the second generation release with the newer revised tail fin. As you can see, the tail fin with the straight fins on the top there. And this is in the Patrouille de France livery, which is the French national display formation team, which use Alpha Jet. Not sure which version they are, but I've got a feeling there might be Alpha Jet A's in pure plain configuration. The only omission that the Matchbox kit has over this particular variant is the fact that all Patrouille de France Alpha Jets carry the ventral gun pack, which would normally house a machine gun, or rather a 20mm cannon, I believe. But in the Patrouille de France variants, it would carry petroleum and dye, and the petroleum is mixed with the dye to evaporate in the efflux of the aircraft's exhaust pipes, which are either side of the rear end of the aircraft there, as you can see. I just want to explain a little bit about these two kits because they're actually quite a joy to build. They're quite nice kits to build. I have got a little bit of touching up to do on both of these because the tyres need a little bit of touching up. But the reason why I like these two kits is grossly inaccurate they are. They're actually really easy to build, and they're quite a fun build. There's not an awful lot going on inside, but I'm hoping I can just let's see if I can just zero in on that cockpit canopy for you on the prototype variant, because I think it would be quite nice if I could. There we go. The interior of the aircraft, I've actually copied the interior of the aircraft from the aircraft that's in the museum. I think the aircraft's in the Munich Museum of Flying, and the interior cockpit is actually those colours. It's a light grey interior, but the flash guard above the instrument panel in the forward part of the cockpit is actually matte black. And I can't model the seats correctly because they don't seem to have the proper ejection seats, which were fitted to the Alpha Jet in the Matchbox kit. But the actual cockpit canopy is pretty good. It's a pretty good match lightness. The other issue, as you can see here, the air intakes are too square, and I did mention this in the inbox review, but the kit actually has a really nice, really high sheen to the canopy in both the kits. If I can just angle this image up, you might be able to see the other aircraft, and that has quite a high shine on that canopy as well, and it's quite nice to see that, Matchbox did do something quite right with their kit, which was nice. The other issue, if I turn the prototype round, you'll see the other issue straight away. Let's see if I can turn this one round as well, and then you should be able to see them. But basically, on the back end, see if I can angle that down. Can you see the rear jet pipes at the back? Well, on the real Alpha Jet, there are actually two jet pipes that protrude out of those two orifices. But on the Matchbox kit, of course, the wooden mock-up didn't have the Lazark engines because the engines weren't ready for installation at the point when they were designing the aircraft, and there were a lot of mistakes made. Not by Matchbox, I might add, because Matchbox were given, they were only given the detailed drawings that they were given to build the kit from. But there were a lot of omissions on the detailed drawings because obviously a lot of the features of the Alphajet just weren't apparent at the time. I mean, the Lars Arc engine had a proper pipe that came out the back of the orifice of the back of the airframe there, as you can see. The other thing that's quite interesting is the livery on the Patrouille de France variant, because the livery is the transfers on the kit, in my opinion, are dreadful. They're too thin. Yes, they may be white, but the model actually tells you to paint the upper spine and the upper part of the tail fin and the strake fins, and also the cockpit canopy frame in gloss white 22. And when you paint these features in on the aircraft, the white stripes on the transfers are just a joke because they're grey. You can see they're grey. The underside of the aircraft, this is even worse, because the underside of the aircraft, you have the transfers, yeah, they're quite nice. They're quite nicely linked there, but when you've painted the section around the nose wheel bay in gloss white, it's a joke. So what I might have to do, I just wanted to show you this in the final reveal so that you can see what the transfers give you the effect and everything, because I don't think the transfers are actually that good, which is a shame. It's a shame they're not that good. I even had to put tips on the tail, on the fins, on the edges of the tail fins and the wings. Can you see that? Where the edge just didn't go round the outside of the wing edge. And I think if I painted those features in gloss white, I think the aircraft would look 100 times better. I might do that. But I just wanted to show you what the kit looked like straight out of the box. And yeah, it's not great. The real Patrouille de France aircraft, the white sections of the aircraft's livery are as bright as the paint featured on the kit, on the top spine there. It's a really bright livery, and it's actually a nice looking aircraft. And the other thing I liked about the prototype that's in the museum is the markings they give you in the box pretty close. The only thing that they don't show you, that they don't give you the marking for, is on the, I'm hoping that's going to come into view. You can see the transfer there in front of the air intake splitter plate. It says Alphajet. On the actual prototype, it would have been Alphajet 01, which it didn't give you in the model. And I looked through my transfer box and I just couldn't find an 01 that was suitable, because it had to be an italic-y style 01 and it had to be the right shade of black, which was a shame. But the rest of the kit is actually, it's pretty true to the prototype as it was. I'll just try and come out a little bit. There we go. So I can just show you there. In the museum, Alphajet 01 prototype is actually French on the port side, which you can see there, and it's German on the starboard side, which you can see there as well. That is actually the way it is in the museum. It's exactly the same as this, and the only difference is the tail fin. The tail fin is similar to the one on the Patrouille de France livery, and I think if you wanted to build a prototype of the Alphajet, you wouldn't go far wrong by getting an early generation Matchbox model of the Alphajet, purely for the decals, because the decals are pretty close to what you had in the museum. It did have Dassault Dornier Breguet Alphajet written in black writing on the back of the fin there. It did have a German flag on both sides, and it was on both sides. It wasn't a French flag on the other side, it was a German one. It did have the correct markings in the box, which, yeah, I was quite impressed. The only problem with it is that you'd need a different airframe to build the kit from, because the tail fin is grossly inaccurate, and also the air intakes are too square. They should be a perfect letter D. Absolute pure circle format on the air intakes, and you would have a perfect prototype. But it is quite a nice looking aircraft. I was quite impressed with that. So these two jets, this is the comparison build final reveal. I did enjoy building these two kits. They were quite good fun. As I said, I've still got to do a little bit of touching in on the wheels, but I wanted to get this video up and out so that you guys can have a look at this. I was quite impressed. And I think if you could get some aftermarket livery transfers for the Patrol de France variant, it's not a bad option. It's quite a colourful, nice looking kit, and I think I'm going to have to do the stripes in white. But I don't know, I might not bother. I might just go for a proper Alpha Jet kit and do it again. I could be tempted. I don't know. Shall I build the whole team? I've got a couple of Red Arrow kits, which might be quite interesting as well. I've got a couple of Nats and a couple of Hawks. But I don't know, the Patrol de France kit is quite a nice look. I like the look of it. It's a nice looking kit. Anyway, that's the final reveal. Lots of fun. The kits are quite good fun to build. They are grossly inaccurate. They are quite old molds. The transfers do go on quite nicely, but the Patrol de France boxing of the Matchbox Alpha Jet, the markings, the transfers on it aren't worth a fig. I'll be honest with you. They're accurate. They're quite accurate in terms of where they're supposed to go, but the white stripe on the transfers, I think the main issue with it is the fact that the transfers are just too thin, and you can see too much of the blue through them, which is a shame. And when you put the gloss white onto the kit's airframe, no, it's not good. As you can see, it's not good. Was not impressed with that. So the transfers are a no-no for me. But I'm sure you'll be able to get a set of transfers for the Patrol de France aircraft aftermarket, and they'll probably be a lot better than this, especially if they're made by Cartograph. So anyway, that's the inbox review. I hope this video has been of some use. Had a lot of fun building these kits. I wouldn't recommend them if you're after a decent, accurate Alpha Jet. To be honest with you, I would go for the Airfix kit. It's actually quite nice. I did build an Airfix kit quite recently in Belgium Air Force markings, and it is a bit of a tricky kit to get the airframe together, but once it's together, it's a very, very accurate, really nice looking model. So anyway, I hope your modelling projects are going well, and I hope everything's running smooth, and I hope everyone out there is in good health, and thanks for joining in, and I'll catch you for the next video. Bye bye for now.